Good afternoon, everyone. BC Richfield here, coming to you live from London. It's just gone a minute past midday here, which makes it the same UTC. A big shout out to everybody that's watching this live today, as well as everybody that's watching it on recording. So this has a very different feel to it, doesn't it, than Monday's show? Now, first thing I want to draw your attention to here is this. Right, so we're going to look at Bitcoin. Now, Bitcoin is obviously going to be the key leader in these markets. And if this thing decides that it is going to go to Hades or have a really steep correction, then very few other cryptocurrencies are going to stack up against it. So I want to cover a few things that have given us some insights into this move. Now, I'm not going to say I predicted this move. On Monday, I was very much looking for this area to be retested and then to build some long positions moving higher. Look for the strengths in the alts, etc., that we wanted to see. Look for that dip in Bitcoin dominance, with hopefully Bitcoin kind of forming a secondary range above this level, ideal world scenario. But the reason that I'm so vocal every single week and every single day with members when I'm on here about having a plan to trade the market in both directions is so very key. Why? Because there can be catalysts that hit the market that are outside of our control, or the market might just want to do this. Now, this move here, right, actually reminds me a lot, which we're going to look at today, reminds me a lot of this move over here. Right, now we did have this really big nasty wick here. I don't think that was present on all exchanges, but I still find this really, really interesting, right? Because if we look at the nature of how price played out here, right now, obviously we've ground up a little bit more into this level. What happened? Price came in, big moves like this, right? Strong full body moves with a little bit more time, ideally, than this. Often retest these levels and then you build the consolidation and then price pumps. What happened here? Well, we had this big deviation. Price came underneath. We didn't have the continuation of the sell-off lower. We just had this really sharp move down to here. Then price kind of came up here, got a bit sticky. This whole area here is just designed to just get people to go absolutely effing mental. People are longing here, then they're stopped out here. They try long again, then they stop out. Then they go short down here and they get stopped out long. Price finally sits and consolidates over the level, takes out structure, and then, obviously it's away. If we look at that in similarity to this here, you can see the nature of this drop, right, isn't quite as severe as this one. Even if you look at some on other exchanges where it might have stopped a little bit lower, it's in the same kind of ballpark, right? So that's something we always want to consider. Now, one thing that I did warn everybody about on Monday, that's a very, very key factor for me in how I look at the markets, is what's first of all going on from a macroeconomic standpoint. We've covered that. But also what was happening with the DXY, what was happening with the news. And one of the most important factors for me is looking at what's happening with equity markets, especially the S&P 500 and the NASDAQ. Okay, so we're going to take a little look at that today as well. Let me just open up the chat for a minute, see who we've got with us today. Oh, loads of people. NBA Young Believe. Hello, my friend. One of the first in today. Daniel, good afternoon to you as well. KRN88NL, how are we doing? PC, Bitcoin does look like the weather. You're absolutely right. Ludwig, hello, my friend. Jojo, good to be here on a live. Well, it's good to have you with us, Daniel. You're very, very welcome here, my friend. Hopefully we can unpick something from the last few days. Driving from Scotland. So are you on your way back now, Calvo? Calvo's a good friend of ours, member over at the Nest, and drives for, you probably cover in a week what I'll do in a year, mate. And Jojo, how are you doing, my friend? Well, obviously, sending out lots of love, lots of thought to everybody. I know a lot of people got caught on the wrong side of this. Full disclosure, I've had people in my DM saying, look, I know this was the trade set up. I know we were told these are the levels that we want to set our take profits. These are the levels we want to mitigate our risk. But I didn't mitigate the risk. I really thought this thing was going to just keep going up, etc. So we're all culpable of that at some points in our career, right? The key thing is learning from it now. So you'll remember this hurt. If you're looking at portfolios, positions, trades, especially if you're playing about with leverage and you've seen all that money rolling up and just all the green candles printing, or in my case, white candles, money comes rolling in, and then all of a sudden, in the blink of an eye, it's gone, or you're liquidated, right? And they're very, very big hits to get up from. Now, a few members messaged this morning about doing a little bit of a piece on this. So I'm going to do something really, really focused on this. Look, I'm not a psychologist, but all I can do is share with you my years and years of experience, all right? And the hits that I've taken, and believe me, I've taken some hits in this industry. I worked for a brokerage firm and for a professional trading company for a number of years, registered out of Germany, who, I built up a lot of Bitcoin and, hundreds of thousands in profit with, that we were compounding as a team. And, guy that was running the fund basically disappeared with everybody's Bitcoin, everybody's money. At that point, I really didn't see a way back in this industry. And also, scammers, it's about over leveraging on positions. It's things basically, if you're going through this, then right now and you're hurting, and that's why you're tuning into this show, or maybe you tune into the show anyway, but maybe you're still hurting, then I do empathize with you. It's a very, very quiet space when you go through hurt like that. And these moves are designed to do exactly that. They're designed to fly up there and then to just absolutely rip you apart on the way back down. So what I want to say to you is something somebody said to me a long time ago, and I've heard it regurgitated a lot, but it's very, very true. And that's that consider this a payment towards your education, because what will happen is people will give up here and people will say, this is a scam. I'm not doing this anymore. This is nonsense, blah, blah, blah. The markets are rigged, etc. But what some people will do is they will get over the hurt, they'll process this, and they'll get back into their order books, they'll get back onto the charts, they'll go back into their journals, and they say, right, what could I have done to see this coming? Right? Now, the other thing as well is, don't forget, if you're employing proper risk management, and this is ridiculously one of the last things that people really do get their head around, in my experience anyway, is that if you're long here, yeah, and your stop loss is down here, you just lost 1R. That's the worst that can happen to you on a single trade, whether you're using leverage or not, right? With this situation, your spot bags might be hurting. I haven't sold anything. Every single cent and dime that is in my spot portfolio is still there and has bled out overnight, the same way that it bled out here and it bled out here, etc., right? But also in the same way that it ripped through here and it ripped through here, right? And these times will come again. Now, look, if you're controlling your risk, if you're controlling your exposure, then you really, really shouldn't be too affected. What do I mean by that? Yes, it's going to hurt. Yes, it's going to piss you off. You might have had a few $100s, a few thousand, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands. I had a client once who was losing $600,000 a month, right? Before they came to TBN and looked for professional guidance, $600,000 a month. So look, you're not alone. It does happen. I don't want to make this too preachy because, like I said, I'm not a psychologist, right? But I have been there. I've been wherever you are if you're feeling this hurt. But we're traders. We trade the market both ways. If you're not a trader and you're an investor, then realistically, in these market conditions, I am still looking at this as a really good opportunity to load up on some strong assets. Look at it on the weekly. Zoom out. Take a breath. Forget all of this. Let me delete this just for a minute so we can... Just for a moment, I won't delete it. I'll hide it and bring it back in a second, right? But don't let it get to you too much. Just consider it part of the game, right? Because what will happen to most people is people will start selling on the way down here. They'll buy again when it goes on the way up here. The same way that people bought up here because they didn't want to buy down here, yeah? And just use this, process it, journal it. Speak to people about it. We've got channels within inside our Discord that are made exactly for this, right? So reach out to people. Don't suffer alone, but at the same time, don't overthink it. Work it out. Were there mistakes that you made? If they were, this could be one of the most important lessons that you've learned. And I can imagine that most of them will be around risk and trade management. Okay. So good morning, Nit, or good afternoon. Sorry, Nit. How are you doing, mate? Looks like you're a little bit cold over there. Craigie boy, how are you doing? Good to see you, mate. Hope work and everything is going well. And look, the pain does make you stronger, right? It doesn't feel like it does at the time, but it's genuinely like anything. There's a statement, I say it a lot on here. It's very cheesy. It's from the film Rocky, right? And Sylvester Stallone says in there, it's not about how hard you can get hit. It's not about how hard you hit, sorry. It's how hard and how many times you can get hit, get knocked down, and keep getting up again. That really is life for most people. And I know in this ridiculous world we live in now, where we idolize these twats on social media and these weapons that offer no real value to the world, that can all seem a little bit skewed sometimes. It seems like people have it too easy. Don't worry about those people. They probably don't ever reap the fruits of their labor or really enjoy what they have, because a lot of it's given to them. You focus on you and you realize there are literally millions, hundreds of thousands, millions of people out there changing their lives every day. This is a wrinkle. It's a setback if you've suffered. Take the time you need away from the charts to process this, get yourself back on the horse, learn from your mistakes, and believe me, you will be a better trader for it. And maybe even a little bit of a better person. I know it's certainly taught me a lot of humbling life lessons. But anyway, let me do that. And Jojo, exactly, zoomies, get your zoomies. It's funny because it's what I say, or what we say about Yuki the husky. She does these crazy run around on the beach where we live. She just kind of finds the flat sand when the tide has been in, and then will turn whilst running at just crazy speed, kind of tuck her back legs in and drift like a car. And that got dubbed the term zoomies as well. So that really made me laugh there as well. I hate it here. Perfect name for today, Ray. Good morning, my friend, to you as well. So look, where are we? Yeah, on a weekly scale, let's not lose sight of this. I've said for a while, this weekly gap, or even this weekly gap, could still come into play here. We need to remember we're a long way off of losing key structure here on the weekly. So now, while I appreciate that doesn't do us many favors, let's put these back on and move down to the daily. What have we been looking at on the daily? Well, the daily's really been quite simple for us. This is our resistance level, support above here, resistance below it. We're below it. Where do I think price is going? I think it's going down here. I think this was the key pivot point here, or the key, swing point here, where price came in, found support and moved higher. If the buyers were here before, are they going to be here again? Makes sense, doesn't it? We also need to add in this swing low here. And this is a weekly low here as well, right? So we can see we've got this beautiful liquidity pool building up here, right? Now, what's going to happen is people are going to start trying to catch longs from here. But also, don't forget, we just shifted structure to the upside here. This isn't the end of the world. If we take a Fibonacci on this, look where we are in this wonderful cluster of lines. This is the golden pocket. This is the 705 down to the 79. This 75 level is a really, really key level in and around this whole area here, right? I won't keep it on the chart, but this whole area here could really be a key buy. So this is what I'm watching. If we come down below this, close below this, then I'm watching for these lows to be flushed out down here. But this absolutely could be the spot at which we're looking to get some bids. Before we do that, a lot of people have asked me and said, why were you showing caution up here? So intraday trade with Trade Club yesterday, we were actually short on Bitcoin, which we didn't take. We actually didn't take it. We got a lot of new members coming in at the moment. And also, one of my big concerns was the fact that actually at that time, while we were running the session, the equity markets were looking pretty strong. Bitcoin was looking pretty strong. But, this is the nature of trading. I left like a 14, 15-hour trade on the table because I let myself overthink it. And it will happen to you at every single level of your career. For me, I processed that. I journaled it yesterday and I was like, that's a little bit of a dumb thing to do, because I was allowing external factors to affect my decision-making when my decision-making should ultimately be a binary process. So it goes to show you we're all always living and always learning. Now, I'm going to move this onto the lower time frames in a moment. We're also going to look at traditional markets. We're going to make time to look at a few alts and that today as well, but most of them are going to look pretty horrific, but we will make time to look at them, see if we can find some key levels, because something that, that you see professional traders grasp that others don't is that they start getting excited in conditions like this, not upset, because these can present really, really good buying opportunities. And when the sentiment turns in the market, there's always opportunity sniffing around. So a few levels that I've added to this chart, right? So we've got this green level here, which is going to become more obvious on the lower time frames. We have this, I don't know if you guys can see this at the moment, but this was the swing low we were targeting. And all we do when we're looking at these lows, we're saying, excuse me, guys, we're saying, how has price closed into this level? Humongous bearish engulfing candle with a massive body, slightly long downside wick. The chances are, if you get the close below this level, because this is the swing low candle here, because it's flanked by two higher lows. So swing low, price closes below that. What we would want to see if we were expecting price to reverse here is this. So you see how price came into this level here, came down, bought up, closed. So what happened? Price tried to move up here, inducing people long to trap them, flushes them out to key liquidity below the high time frame low, recovers that low and says, okay, I'm showing a little bit of strength here. We've taken out these relative equal lows. I'm back within, think of this as a range. Price is likely to move higher. Then all I'm doing is I'm just then trying to move the noise away. Let me see if I've got, because I've got the weekly lines on here. Let's just put this in a group for a minute so we can just strip away all the noise just for a second. Move our weekly position back up here so that we're not constantly going down to look for it. Beautiful. Right. So quite simply, when we're in this position here and price sweeps out this low, this is what you're staring down. You're staring down something that looks particularly bearish, but has taken a key liquidity pull, a key bullish liquidity pull. Why is it bullish? Because any stops that were below here are going to become market sell orders. That means the market pukes them back in, which means that they're just filled at the quickest and most readily available price. That means you generate this huge liquidity pool of sell orders that people can come in and take the other side of that, right? They can buy that up. And what it means is that large accounts don't face slippage. If you just got basically this almost endless supply of orders in here, you get everything filled here, you reverse the market, right? If huge institutional players want to step on side with a trend, it's very difficult because they'll open a position here. We're trending up here. And by the time they've filled their orders, it's probably up here somewhere. So the slippage is astronomical because they're buying so many lots, right? So when we get this move here, we're back above key liquidity. What you should be asking yourself at this point here is, what are the options for price? So there's this low here, right? Now, if price came and closed below this low without sweeping that, this would become my target. But it hasn't. It's recovered this low, right? Now I'm looking up and I'm saying, where's the next liquidity pool up here? Do I have any key gaps? Have I got a swing higher? I do, right? So if major players, institutional bidders, smart money, as someone like Michael, ICT would call it or whatever, however you look at it, institutions, commercials, smart money, hedge funds, bank, etc., people with humongous wads of cash that are throwing it around in this industry and others, if they're in here, where are they going to sell? Here? 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 Why? Who are they selling to here? They want to sell to willing buyers. The willing buyers exist above that high. How do we know that? Well, you've got breakout traders, you've got algorithms, you've got bots that will trigger with moves above this high. You also have people's stop losses that were short here that were trading it down to this low. Any of those that haven't been closed out at that point are going to become market buy orders, right? That means that when you've got that situation where you can immediately sell back to those people, that's where, institutions are going to push price. You can even wait to see how the next candle develops. How's it still engaging with this line? Yeah, we've got a long upside wick here, but that's fine. The key thing here is we couldn't push down below this. Price opened, tried to push down, right? Came back up and then closed. Great. So then you're in a position where you can look and say to yourself, okay, where's price likely to head for? Here. Now, this is what I want to show you about when we're looking at highs and lows. This level for me then becomes really key, because look at how price has reacted to this level. There is zero respect for this. Buying pressure was so strong, it just took all these orders and more, added to more of them, and then just ripped. There was no reversal there. That means that you're aligned with institutional order flow, with the order flow of, the major players in this market that are driving the market ultimately. So as we look at this section here and we see that big expansion, we're saying, well, chances are price is probably going up from here. We can look to this level for retest. We can utilize the lower time frame. But as I'm looking higher, I'm always saying to myself, well, where's the target? Where's price really looking to get to, right? We've got a bearish gap up here. That's gaps often a draw on price, a magnet on price. And then we obviously have the high over here, which was the all-time high. Now, I'm not saying we're going to meet that overnight, but that's what you do. And then you look at how price engages. So ultimately, what were we looking for? We're looking for price to draw up to here. So what's happened now? Well, we were wrong. Yeah, price didn't hold this level. And you only have to drop down. Where was your long opportunity here? Maybe you wanted to long on the 15-minute. Where the hell was that? On the 5-minute. There's no longs in here, right? Oh, cough it up, pup. Yuki just coughing up a furball. Which pops into the office to give me these delightful things. So look, key levels. Activate and action your trades at key levels. Why were we short yesterday, for anybody that's interested? Well, quite simply, one of the systems that we utilize as an intraday scalping system at the Bird Nest is utilizing our Burbicator Pro indicator. This is something that gives us an indication of when market conditions are starting to turn, right? So yes, we're in a higher time frame uptrend. This trailer is, I have it set to the hourly. We're also on the hourly time frame. So I won't go into all the things you can do with B Pro. There are literally thousands of things you can do with B Pro, right? But the main things that I use it for here are, you can have high time frame trailer, you can have current time frame trailer. Divergences are a really big thing for me on this, right? So I don't keep them on all the time because on here, but look, we're at a 64%. Sorry, just on the hourly here, I'll show you on the higher time frame. You start to get a couple of bearish divergences emerge here. So what you're saying is, well, where's our key level? Where it's here. So I was just saying to the members that, look, this is the kind of area that we can short down to, right? Because look, if I put this back on now, yeah, here's our key support. That was the swing high. These are the kind of areas that should be getting respected, right? So that was the reason we had this came up, which was invalidated by the close below it, but it's fine. They're often moves in incorrective moves. If I now move this to a 4-hour, we can see that we had a 4-hour bearish divergence start here as well. Look what happens when you get these divergences, right? They're typically corrective moves or reversals. Yeah. And what you want to do is, how I look at them is, I look for key levels like this one here, confirm with a higher time frame divergence, and then look to execute on a lower time frame. It's just how we get these kind of early stage patterns. Now, I'm going to turn those off for a minute just because I find them a little bit intrusive. However, like I said to you, I made a mistake with this trade. I'm always honest with everyone. I have nothing to prove to anybody other than myself. My goals are very much my own, but I like to be transparent in these things because I think very few people are. I should have been better with this, right? Because I tell you why. I didn't want to do it because we basically had a very, very close low, right? And I'll show you that in a moment. But the system is very simple. If B Pro is bearish, yeah, or it's not very simple, but if you do pop along to the nest, we can certainly teach it to you. Here's the bearish gap. We tagged the bearish gap here literally at 1300. And the plan was to sell it off down to here. Now, we had a little bit of a sharp drop after it. So by the time we got the entry, the risk to reward was pretty poor. And in truth, I was expecting a really strong reaction here. So yeah, that was basically it. CME chart is more clear, and we get a swing failure pattern at the 103 area. Yeah, that's all well and good, mate, but I don't trade the CME chart. Stay go. I obviously trade the ones that are here on the exchanges, so I need to get the accurate data for what comes in for me. But you're right, CME chart did have that. It also had a very, very handy gap for us, but I would use that if I was trading, looking at positions potentially, or if I'm trading on prop. then I'll definitely use that. So you're absolutely right. But I need to trade on these ones because these are the exchanges that I'm trading with. So I need the data to be as accurate as possible, especially the time frames that I'm firing these down onto. Oh, right. Take a quick sip of tea. Now, where does that leave us? Where does it leave price? Well, quite simply, let me just put the levels back on. Let me get rid of these now. Right, this is what I'm looking at. And really, really simply, on a daily scale, we closed below key resistance here, that then became key support here, close below, retest, price is now selling off. Now, we are in this bullish gap over here, right? So that's something that we want to consider as well. I'm not so worried about this level for any of you wondering. I'll tell you for why, because when we closed above it, we retested it here. Yeah, so it's not an untapped level or a naked level like this one was. Yeah, that swing low there, nobody had tagged that. When we close below it here, it's okay, no problem. Then we look for pullbacks here and we're short here. But as we can see, we got a lot of that. We got a lot of that play out in the evening. So if you're, or if we're looking at the 4 hour with the same respects, then we can see, you know, you came into this low here. Is it significant? No. Was it tagged before? No. You can see how it offered some support here. Why? Because there'll be liquidity resting here, people willing to take that bid. But again, we close below, draw back. You know, the momentum of the candle here tells you that we're still aiming lower. So I'm looking now to say, okay, well, where's the most realistic place the price can reverse here? Yes, we're in this bullish gap here. And like we said, we know we've got an area in around here as well, which is where that has confluence from the Fibonacci, right? With our golden pocket and our key levels there. So we want to just watch how price and what price does here. For me, it's a bit of a no trade zone here. If I'm looking to pick up trades here, then, you know, in an ideal world, I'm looking here or here, yeah, or for price to recover this. They're the areas that I would be interested in trading this, right, on the higher time frames. Apart from that, we have to be looking for these liquidity sweeps and these intraday plays. And for me, I'm focused very much on the hourly in that respect. And quite, yeah, I mean, this is a really, really simple play for me, actually, because we have a bearish gap here that's currently suppressing price. Right, we can see what happened. Gaps created, rejection, price has sold off. What have we done when we look left? Have we taken any key liquidity? We haven't. We're not holding gaps. We've not taken any swing lows. So we've taken a local swing low below this. So if we want to see progress here, and I'm talking about on an intraday basis, because I would definitely be looking to trade this level to level, then this is what I would look for. I would look for price to close above this, right? That would then make this a gap inversion. This would go from being a bearish gap, yeah, to being an inversion gap, meaning that we would then expect this to offer support, all right, and then trade higher. So that's as simple as the play gets. If I'm now looking at this from the other point of view, I don't really want to short this here because we're already quite low in the move, but I'm looking at the liquidity over here and I'm saying, okay, where's the key liquidity? Key liquidity is this swing low here. So if we start to break down here, we can see how price can tag off these lows. Then we kind of get into this area. This was the origin, this pin bar candle here. This beautiful, beautiful pin bar, you know, hammer candle, followed then by, okay, an inverse there, but a lot smaller wick. This shows you the real absorption. We've taken out a wick. We've taken out a swing low, which is an abnormal wick that's within a gap, key liquidity pool. We've had a beautiful bullish reaction. We're looking higher. There's a couple of things we can do here to kind of nail ourselves in, which is look at the engulfing that happens here, which gives us a secondary point of confluence. And then we can also look for the gap inversion. Bearish gap should be rejecting price here. Ultimately, if it's not going to reject there, where's it going to reject? Well, swing higher, right? So what do? We look at how price engages this swing higher. If this is where the sellers were before, we want to see that flipped. We want to see them get caught offside. Close above tells us that little bit of time. What happens when we retest this area? Well, the people that were short here that didn't close out their positions are almost certainly going to close out there because they can get out without a loss or with very minimal loss. They can then realign themselves with the order flow and get back in here, right? That's why these kind of key highs and lows tell us so much. So while we're looking at that, we're saying, well, that was a real powerful catalyst, this area. Price, we had this, we shifted structure, we moved up, had this quite erratic price action here. This is just pure liquidity games. flushing out longs, flushing out shorts. Price flushes out the longs again. People get bored, step away, and then you get these big moves when the market really kind of steps in. All right. So that's kind of an area that I'm very interested in if I'm looking across. Another thing that I'm always looking for is mitigation. So I want to see these down moves. Yeah, see moves like this consolidation here that led to this pump. Even if I just kind of focus on the bodies of this area, what do they teach us? Do this in some kind of weird bright color, shall we? Yeah, what does it teach us? Well, if the buyers were here before and caused this massive move up, then what are they doing here? And when you start to see weakness in these areas, right? And okay, we didn't get the perfect retest of this, right? Which is fine. But I'd be looking for something like this here. Price to close below here, retest into this, and then you can get the sell-off. All right. Like I say, I wasn't actually actively trading this morning. But this actually, you know, looking at it in hindsight, is a pretty good intraday short for the London session here. Because if the buyers aren't here and they can't keep price up, and price is now showing you, by showing you bearish continuation, showing you bearish gaps, remember that's a bearish gap, we haven't closed above it yet, that's what we want to see for some bullish resurgence. Price ultimately is just going to continue getting forced down until we start taking some of these areas. So this area down here now becomes a really key point for me that I'd love to see. We have this gap low here. So just looking for price to drive into this. And then you want to see those sharp reversal moves, right? Moves like this. See this V-shape, quick recovery, price consolidates, pops. Yeah, what happened here? Price sharp move down, back up again, comes in, consolidates, sharp move up, consolidation, pops. Right? These moves, you know, to the opposite side, deviation, look how sharp. You hear the term V-shaped recovery or V-shaped rejection. You see these rejections happening quite brutally, especially in crypto, right? And obviously now, in hindsight, how obvious this head and shoulders pattern was up over here. So that's where we are with Bitcoin, still expecting this to push a little bit lower as we are. We can see we're starting to kind of, you know, fulfill that prophecy at the moment. But like I say, when we zoom out, we just want to kind of focus on these areas where we want to take high probability setups, meaning that until we closed above this area here, I'm favoring shorts. When we close above this area here, favoring longs. Close back below it, shorts. Where would I consider longs? Only ever when we're taking out these key lows, right? Think about where liquidity is. A lot of people just get hurt because they're stepping into the market trying to long and short everything because it's an exciting thing. I remember when I first got into trading, I'd open a 15-minute chart and I'd go, right, every change in structure, I'm in. And I would just get obliterated. I'd be like, right, okay, what's going on? Right, okay, key low, bang, right, we're below the low, short that. Fuck, pardon my French, price is going the other way, no problem, right, where can I step in, gap, I'm going to step in here, and then price comes and takes out my stop. A lot of it comes down to patience, kind of taking that time and zooming out. For me, I don't like using anything lower than a 4-hour chart as a high time frame, and that's only if I'm ever really doing a lot of very low time frame scalping. And within this, I'm just looking for these key highs and lows, how price engages. Look for these long downside wicks. Where were the buyers before? No doubt in my mind, just drawing a random box over there, that there's buyers there, right? Why? Because buyers stepped in here, big move off of that. So you can then look to refine that, look back a little bit further and say, okay, well, you know, how low can we push this, or how much sense does it make? You don't have to tie it all in with price action back there because this has recency about it. This is what people were doing. You know, this is where the buyers were stepping in previously. So, you know, I would normally look at something like this and I would say, okay, where have I got some key touch points here? Price has come in. We've set this wick low here. We've got another decent wick there, which I don't mind actually. So as that pushes up, you can see decent reaction here, but this is the one. You want to focus on these strong reactions higher. And even if you've just got this data here, by the time price gets to here, you think, right, we're going to move lower because we've closed underneath this area. This is where the buyers should be, right? And say you're wrong. Say you get stopped out. What happens? Price steps above, shift structures to the upside, start setting bullish gaps, or, you know, start reclaiming key highs like we do over here. Then just look for the next key area where you see this support and resistance. That's why this was such a very key area, right? You know, you look at this on the 4-hour here, rejection, big sell-offs. What happened here? Massive deviation, horrific price action, but pure market manipulation. Look at the wicks to the high to the low. designed purely to take out all the liquidity from both sides of the range. So as we come up here, we step back on, we hold here, no problem, back beneath, retest, sell off, back above, retest, longs, back below, shorts. This is when we then look to flip long. Now, I'm not just saying when we're below this, we're just shorting everything. But if you look at pretty much all of these moves that happened underneath this level that led to price moving higher, yeah, apart from this one here, I would say, pretty much all of them came back off of a liquidity sweep. Yeah, liquidity sweep, deviation, price moves up. Liquidity sweep, deviation, liquidity sweep, deviation, price moves up, right? So rather than trying to just long things in the middle of nowhere, you can just look for these patterns to play out. This one, yeah, price swept a key low, wasn't ready to move, but then price swept this low, stepped back inside, and we got the long, right? Now, the key to all of those random squiggles that you're seeing on the screen is that we're taking trades from key areas. We're not looking to do, just trade in the middle of nowhere. Like this at the moment, it's just don't really know what's telling me to long this here. I either need to see some key levels reclaimed or I need to see something on the slightly lower time frames, but I don't just want to convince myself of it. I want to actually have some backup for it as well, right? So, quick sip of tea and let's smash into ETH, shall we? Does anybody have any key charts that they're looking at that they're really confused on, or they're really kind of in a little bit of trouble, or they're offside, or they don't really know where to mitigate their risk, or they don't really know where they should be kind of stopping out or considering it? I'm not going to tell you what to do, but I will happily review any charts that you guys have, especially if it's something that, you're really, really struggling with. Oh, thank you, Daniel. That's very, very kind, mate. Years of being very average at it, years of getting very, very hurt in the industry, and then thankfully a lot of years of learning from some very good people and just working very, very hard. Yeah, sure, Craigie boy, we can take a look at that. What we got? Litecoin. Avax is one of my favorite to trade. The Dow Jones. Yeah, why not? The DJI or the DJI contract, sorry, or the particular one. Sui, now we're talking. Come on, let's rip through some charts. Come on, let's look for opportunities, right? If you've been here, it's time to get up. XRP. Yeah, just DJI, mate. Okay, yeah, no problem. So let's take a look at these, shall we? Let's just take a very quick look at ETH. Just want to give you my thoughts on this. We're going to focus on the daily, the 4 hour, to look at these from a positional point of view. Champlu Radio, awesome. I am, mate. Yeah, BC_Ridgefield. I do most of my streaming through the Burb Nest, which is the Discord that I work with a group of traders on. KRN88NL, of course, mate. We can do that. So let's have a look. Let's have a real fly through these. What have we got? 22 minutes. We're going to look at Litecoin, Avax, DJI, Sui, HBAR, XRP, ADA, Flare, and VRA. All right. So what all these squiggles mean? Simply look how I've identified these key highs and lows, right? Like with this one, what happens? Can't get above it, get back below it. We're looking at a little bit of weakness. Okay, so here we are on the daily chart. I'm not really going to go over what all this means, blah, blah, blah. It's all irrelevant now, right? Yeah, of course, mate, GRT. So what are we looking at? Basically, this was our key level. See the green line, right? Really, really nice. What happened? Key liquidity pool, strong close above it. No sellers stepping in here, just buyers, wicks below, boom, let's go, ship and bonk, right? I'm going to try all of these, by the way, guys, and see how many we can get through in 20 minutes. Here we go. So this level was lost here, retested, selling off. We reclaimed this level. I was bullish here. We came into this bullish channel. We've now closed back below. What else we've done is we've now violated bullish gaps here, which is showing a lot of weakness. However, something that we can see here on ETH is we've got a lot of liquidity resting below these lows. All right. You're very welcome, mate. So let's draw them in. I think they're basically all equal lows here as well, which is a beautiful liquidity pool. I can really see ETH having some kind of reaction here. Just to zoom in for you guys on this. Yeah, equal low, equal low, equal. Just these lows that are in here, they're just beautiful, right? Almost, purely engineered liquidity pools. Now, on the 4 hour, we can see this a little bit clearer. This was a really, really kind of key area for me. Let me now just draw this back along. Yeah, why this? Look, resistance, support, resistance, 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 all led to sizable sell-offs. Look what happens when we then pop back above this. Look what happens with the close. Price closes, draws into this, and then we get that consolidation. And price just rips, right? Again, close above a key level, retest it, move higher. Strangely enough, when we reviewed this on Monday, I said this pattern, unfortunately, a rising wedge like this has a higher percentage probability chance of price breaking down from it. But the plan was to short this down to this level here, yeah, and then look for long positions here. When price does this, yeah, then you can be pretty sure this level isn't going to hold for longs. Unfortunately, a lot of these moves can sometimes stop you getting involved in shorts. However, when you close below here, this is when you can then look for short trades. Why? Because again, where's the key liquidity? Think as a major player would think. If they've sold up here, caught everybody offside with this huge deviation, price gets underneath, where are they going to close their orders? Because if they start selling these things too early, they're just going to cause price to rip back up. Potentially, yeah, because obviously, people are buying them back off. Their buying pressure comes in to the short bids, to the short asks, and then price comes back up and they lose most of their profit. So there you go. Turkman G, very, very welcome. Thank you, mate, for the feedback. Really do appreciate it. So this is where we are with ETH. I'm looking for longs down here, right? I'm not saying I'm just going to ape into them, but this is what I would want to see. I would want to see price. Looks like oh yeah, great squiggly line there, BC. What does it actually mean? Well, depends how you're trading it. I want to see price wicking into this area and not closing. Yeah. So that when price does then come back, we get those wicks below. I then want to see price get back above here quite quickly. And then I just want to see this area hold. Yeah. Then I'm going to look to scale into long positions here. If I'm wrong, then I'm wrong. I just wait for these equal lows to be violated. By that, I mean a strong candle close below. And then next key liquidity pool is resting below that swing low there. And then we have our high time frame level down here, right? So just break this thing down. This basically at the moment is your range. Yeah. Until you get a clean break above or below. Why is that your range? Because this is what's capping the upside. This is what should be capping the downside. All right. So that's what you want to do. You want to trade in there. Think how well that would have worked here. Price broke down here and you saw this retest. You've got proof of resistance, proof of support, proof of resistance again. So how many good trades could you have got in here? One good short there. Yeah. So lovely long there, lovely short there, lovely short here. Yeah. Obviously that's the long, another short here. And that one didn't quite come back into it. But then you close above. You've taken out all this liquidity, and now you're saying, okay, where's the next liquidity pool? Well, I'm trading it up to these highs, right? I know that looks like a load of random gibberish, guys. Hopefully that made sense. So with ETH, looking for longs here, start closing out below this level, and then I'm looking for lower down. So to give you just a few numbers on that, these equal lows are at 3,303.33. How ridiculous is that? Happens all the time in crypto, that or round numbers. And if not, then we're looking down to this level here, which is about 3,186. Okay, that's ETH. Now, in the last 15 minutes, we are going to try and rip through about 15 different assets. And yes, absolutely, the person with no name, but the really, really funky logo, I will try my absolute best, mate, to look at drift for you as well. So this is what we're going to do. Let's just go. Actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to set this exchange type. So I'm going to try and set these over to, no, sod it. If we haven't got them on there, we haven't got them, have we? Right, Litecoin, daily. Let's have a look. What are we doing on the daily? I mean, yeah, for me, all these downside wicks here, right? This is the key area. If I'm looking at this as a point of support and resistance, then probably this. And then probably this, right? So that area to there, to here. quiet. Key resistance, close above, retest, long, longs. This is where we want to look for longs, right? That area starts around about 99.42. Okay, now moving this to a 4 hour. This is a nice little low here, actually, gap low. All right, so that's you know, a gap, or as you know, anyone that studied ICT or anybody like that, fair value gap. We also had this low here as well that prices seem to hold pretty well. These combined make relative equal lows. Price is actually finding a little bit of support here. I really don't mind this. I still think ultimately that this is probably going to come in. By the way, guys, sorry for hearing noise. We've got the cleaners in downstairs. I've asked them to be quiet, but well, as politely as I can, obviously. But they have a job to do as well. But apologies if you can't hear any noise from that. So, do I fancy this for a long here? Not really. Not when we've got a really key liquidity pool down here. But this is the area I'm watching. What would I want to see to convince me otherwise? Well, this is the high. Yeah, this is the high that led to the sweep of the low. If price can close above this, I'm going to look at this area for consolidations on a lower time frame and then look for that to move higher. Okay. That really is as simple as I can kind of think of this. I just think at the moment this is the most likely area. I'd like to ideally see something like this where we get kind of a deviation of this area, or we get a really kind of strong V-shaped recovery here and then do something like that. But, you know, price doesn't have to come down this low. Price can absolutely not do what I think it's going to do and do whatever it wants. So if it runs hot from here, this is why we always come with multiple plans, right? Price runs hot, we get back above here. This is where we look for longs high because it's showing us strength. If you want a little bit of kind of extra, don't want to say security is the wrong kind of word, but possibly that. Look at this consolidation. Look how price just disrespected that and just ripped straight through it. If it gets back above this, you can bet the buyers will step back in here, right? And if you're wrong and it gets back below, then you can be pretty sure you're going to be able to short it down to here. All right, always have two plans. So AVAX, my dear sweet AVAX, the intraday trading that we have done together over the years. This is one of my absolute favorite assets in the world to trade. This is, I don't know why all my other ones are down here, maybe because of the perp markets. But anyway, let's have a look at sweet AVAX. So similar kind of situation here, resistance, flip support underneath now. That's why this was such a good area to short AVAX, and I didn't do it. I just wasn't really aware of it. Obviously hadn't set an alert, and that's for me to miss out. But look, when you understand these key levels of support and resistance, I'm not saying it becomes easy, but it becomes a lot clearer for you to then step in the charts and commit to a trade. So let's look down here. Where are the buyers, right? Where are the buyers? Buyers are here. Yeah, buyers were here. Where were the sellers? Sellers were here, right? Hopefully that's obvious and not just random squiggles. Let me just do this really quickly. Buyers. Yeah, buyers. Sellers. Yeah, so what I'm looking to do here is first of all get rid of all that nonsense. Flick to this and go, okay, what if I just draw this in as the key higher here? Yeah. Does that really make a lot of sense? I mean, it kind of does. Resistance, but there was no real retest here. This is actually a bit of a larger area. So I'm then saying, okay, well, what then encapsulates these lows? Well, for me, it's this. If I look at the bodies of these candles and I say, okay, all the resistance that was in here before this strong move above, we can see that that pretty much harbors these areas here as well. Now, I don't think that this upside wick here is really adding as much to the party as it should. And if it was, it should be higher. So what do I mean by that? Well, if that's the low and we want to see some kind of engagement up here, even if I allow for these downside wicks, because look, the test of this area is what led to this massive move higher. So while we hold this area, or while we're in this area, this is a good area to look for longs on AVAX, in my opinion. I would need to see price closing below these lows to then think the price is going to start coming down to attack these. This, for me, is a good buying opportunity here. And once again, if we get the patterns that we want to see, sweep of that recovery, yeah, lower time frame move up, then we're just going to look to play this range until hopefully we break it and do that. All right, so that's very much where I am with AVAX. Let's take a look at this on the 4 hour, see if we've got anything more granular here that we can dive into. No, not really. Quick move up, quick move down. Often happens that way. Quick move down, quick move up. Yeah, these kind of things when you get these imbalances and these quick moves, you can often see these pretty aggressive retraces. Cryptobolic, hello mate, great name. And you're welcome, Craigie boy. So at the moment, I'm just looking for this kind of ping pong in here. As long as we hold this area, I'm definitely not looking to short this. I think we're just patient, and I do think we see something like this. I think our price kind of steps in and gives us an opportunity to be a buyer again down here. If not, and we're looking to flush a lot lower, well, once we get past this low here, which we'd want to see a close of, then we can start looking lower. But until then, I'm just looking for buying opportunities here on AVAX. Okay, get ourselves on DJI, shall we? No, gotta get off crypto first. Here we go. So Dow Jones index. We need to move to a slightly higher time frame for this one. Now, look, like I don't really trade the Dow Jones, but I do use it for confluence in a triple screen system between that, the NASDAQ, and the S&P 500. And at Trade Club, which is our intraday trading club over at the Bird Nest, we actually had members, or I had members there trading the NASDAQ and ES with me for a while. And we built up about 50R in a pretty short period of time trading those markets. And the confluence that you get from this is really, really key. So where are we at the moment with DJI? Well, I'm really focused on the higher time frames here. Now we're looking for the same kind of principles, but they do move slightly differently. Okay, we'll definitely try and throw in Ondo for you at the end there, mate. I'm not sure I'm going to get through all of these. I'm really, really going to try. And then DSYNC, because there's about 15 to run through. But Turkman, do remind me, and we'll have a look at that, because it's obviously quite a highly leveraged situation for you at the moment. So we're here, bullish gap, right? Quite like this here. Well, while we're holding the wicks down, this has been rebalanced now, though, right? So for me, I'm looking for a reaction down here, or I want to see some kind of momentum back above. I don't like the fact we're closing candles in below the 50% of this gap. That's a little bit bearish. Moving this to, say, like a daily chart, I think we get a little bit more out of this. You can see, obviously, the gapping that we have here. I don't know if I'm on the... Hang on. What happened to the... No, it's the right one. So anyway, we've got gapping coming on down here. Now, what I'd want to see here, if we're holding this weekly gap, is this is the bearish gap above it, right? That's keeping price suppressed. So I want to see this closed above, and then I think we make a pretty quick run on the liquidity resting above here. Another little thing that we can do to throw in as another element is focus on this swing high, look for price to close above this, and we move up. We have left relative equal lows down here, so my expectation at the moment would be something like this. If we're going to move higher, I think we start closing in down below these levels and we don't wick down and get above, then we've got a lot of liquidity to chase down lower. Okay, so that's how I'd be looking at it. I wouldn't be pushing DJI or the Dow Jones any lower than that. Take a look at SUI, go back to our little crypto beastie. Get a clean chart up and we can see this again, resistance, but we'll draw it all in fresh, right? So daily, where are we? Well, like I said, that was obviously the key point there. We're very much now back down below this level. We can see the retest up into it and we're now selling off. Where's the key liquidity to the lows on the daily? This is the first point here. Second key point is over here, which is you know, pretty decent distance away. You can see all these long downside wicks, key liquidity pools. Now, a little wrinkle that we have here on the daily is that we are in a bullish gap here. So we want to really consider that as we kind of move lower. We need to wait for the daily close. If we start closing below the 50%, I'm, you know, a bit more inclined to think that we move lower, especially if we've just got a big body down candle like that. 4 hour. Well, again, we're in a 4 hour bullish gap here as well. Now, we don't actually have much data to go on here. And what I mean by that is kind of, you know, highs and lows and gaps that we can look to invert. So what I'm actually going to favor doing here is moving this to an hourly, because I think, yeah, very similar to like what we had there. We look at the hourly, we've got this nice hourly gap here that's suppressing price. We saw this in one of the other assets that we just covered. So for me, if we get a liquidity sweep like this, we want to see a strong reaction, price closing back above this level, and then this is what we're going to use to drive price higher. But we will still need to be a little bit careful here, we are driving this up into what could be strong resistance. So we'd want to get some intraday plays into here, see how price reacts here. If it starts to hold this level, gets back above, respects this, then we hold those positions in. Excuse me, but we would be taking profit pretty sharply on this and mitigating risk just purely because we're coming up into an area of clear resistance. But that's where I am with that. And again, this consolidation here should tell us a lot as well. This was the down move that led to this huge move higher. So there's a chance that price is kind of coming into this level down here. Something else which is of note is this. That was a key swing high that was broken, closed above and never retested. There's that swing high there as well. And this one is the same. So this whole area down here on the hourly, we've seen these breaks, but no retest. So these are naked levels, or untapped levels. These can be a good liquidity point. I'm very interested in being a buyer down here. They start around about 4.4669 and 4.4000. Again, one of those beautiful round numbers that we see in crypto. So H bar. Excuse me. Quick sip of tea. Okay, H bar, where are we at? Bit of a skinny gap down here. I'm not so concerned about that. I really do think price is more likely. It's obviously been rebalanced now as well, meaning that price has traded through it. Level at 0.26426 is the key area for me. We can see we've had a lot of buying happen in this area down here as well. So a purge down here followed by a recovery would make a lot of sense. Now, let's see what the 4 hour tells us. Well, we can see the lows coming into this area here. Little bit of a choppy chart this actually in terms of just looking for kind of key support and resistance. I'd say that probably plays a pretty big role across the board here. Key low here, this was lost, retested, aggressive sell-off, deviation, retested, aggressive sell-off, pretty aggressive sell-off, deviation, retest, price dumps. So this is kind of the key area that I'm looking at here. We're coming into a gap here. What I think is showing that price isn't quite ready to be bullish yet is this reaction. Remember, watch your key lows, especially if they're a gap low. Same with key highs. What happened? Close below it here, look for the retest. And now price is selling off. Maybe we kind of hold this gap area here or this consolidation, but I think ultimately price wants to run for this low starting at 0.26426. However, close back above this area, good big body candle here and start to hold this with some downside wicks. Maybe we do push up from here. They're the two parameters. I need to see one of those two things happen before considering long plays here. If price starts closing candles below here, then I think we're heading for the swing lows down here. Okay, but until then, these areas are potentially good buying opportunities, or if we get back and establish ourselves back above this level here, which has already proven itself as a little bit of support turn resistance. So we've got the building of an area here. If we look at it as well, and we draw it back to here, they're not the biggest moves in the world, but they're also not insignificant, which is this. This whole area providing rejection, strong close above, support. Failed to offer support there will now be rejection. Wait for price to establish itself above here, use it as a base, and then push higher. All right, so XRP. Okay, you've got the old levels here on XRP as well. We can see don't really need these anymore. Let's do this from fresh. Obviously really good area here offering support. Didn't quite tag it here, but again, maybe the area was a little bit broader than that. But let's just do this fresh so you guys can kind of see the process start to finish. So on the daily, what are we looking at? Daily, we're in a really big gap here. XRP actually looks pretty strong here on the daily. This thing hasn't had the biggest, correction in my opinion. We're coming into a few things of interest here. One is this very skinny but not insignificant inversion. It's also a balanced price range, meaning it's a bearish gap with a bullish gap through it, or vice versa. This should be a key liquidity pool. No, sorry, this should be a key liquidity pool. The bullish gap, this inversion here that's turned to a balanced price range should offer some support, and it's all in and around the 50%. So while we hold here, I think we can push up from here. We start closing back below this here. We'd really need to see price closing below this on a daily, in which case then these lows start coming into play here, which the first one starts at 1.9961. Does the 4 hour give us any more clarity? Yeah, it does. We can see prices tried to react here at the balanced price range, kind of really working on getting momentum a bit higher. For me to get bullish on this time frame, I need to see this bearish gap closed above, or for price action to kind of wick back into this here and rebalance it, but then start closing some candles above these highs. Yeah, if we can start getting that flip in place, and again, if we look over here, big move to the downside here, this was also a bit of a catalyst for a move lower. So if we're looking at that there, I think we can agree that's kind of quite a key pivot point here. Price currently trapped between these two levels: resistance, resistance, big sell-off, close above, retest, retest. Now we're below it. This area is offering resistance. If we get back above this, start establishing ourselves here, I think this thing can absolutely rip. So that's the key area that I'm looking for there on XRP. So ADA, going to run over by a few minutes. So any members that are here that for Trade Club, we'll probably kick that off a few minutes later, or just give me enough time to just run and make a cup of tea. So daily, let's have a look. Again, daily in this gap, daily isn't really giving us size, holding this gap at the moment. It didn't close below it last night. There's another gap here, another gap here. Inefficient move up. This could be retraced deeper. Again, it's this kind of balanced price range here that was doing its job. Yeah. So this bearish gap closed through with a bullish gap. This area often then acts as support, but it doesn't really look to be doing a particularly great job there. Not its fault. I think we're going to find a little bit more clarity down here on the H4. So this is a key level again. Look, untapped higher. Yeah. And this is I learned this from Trader Dante, one of the best in my opinion. And he calls, what does he call this? Prior high last, I think it's last high before break or something. Yeah, I think it's that. So basically, look, key swing higher here. Zero respect for that. Price just rips through it. Has it been retested? Have we had time between it? Yes, we have. So this is where we're looking for price to hold here. We also have this consolidation that led to the pump. So that's a key level for me there on the 4 hour. I like the look of that, but I still need to see more. With this 4 hour candle closing, if it confirms this is the swing high, then what I want to see is this. I want to see price come and close above this. Yeah, and then when we get a retest of this, I think that's the area that we could move higher from. However, we start closing below it. Yeah, and then ultimately, I think these lows down here are probably going to come into play on ADA. Let's have a quick look. What have we got? We've got about another 8 to get through. I'm going to try and really rip through these as much as I can. The VRA. Magnificent lines. How did that work out for us? Poorly. Yeah, see, look, plan. Price comes into support here, deviates, gets back above. We move higher. No move above, trapped below this level. You want to be selling. Same as this. Move above, but no retest. We're now back down below this level. So ultimately, we're looking lower. So VRA, for me, this thing could correct down to 0.003463. Do have a little bullish gap here that's kind of supporting price at the moment. But again, let's utilize our 4 hour chart, see where we are there. Now, similar situation here, untapped higher that led to the break. Yeah, this area wasn't retested because the gap ultimately held price up here. But you can see below these highs and these lows, we're in this kind of area of support here, but ultimately probably a little bit more resistance here. I'd want to see a clean move back down below this low, or price really establish itself back above this area here if I was going to be looking to move this higher. Scott, you're very welcome, mate. Sonview me, hello, my friend. Yeah. So I think price could catch a bid here, bullish gap, key area here. Probably actually looking at this here, a little bit of an SR level here as well, right? Bit messy, but look at all the support price was getting here as it was desperately trying to get some bullish price action. Broke down, resistance, resistance, big sell-off, resistance, close above, support, support. We're now kind of in this area, so be careful here. VRA, you want to see a clean move back down below this level to start targeting these lows, or for price to close back above here and start to move a little bit higher. Jojo, have a good night, mate. Our dear friend Jojo tuning in, I think from all the way from Australia, so a real late one for him. Remind me when you're in the net and when we're in with the rest of the members, Jojo, tomorrow. A friend of mine was over from Oz, I'll give you some banter about that. But have a great evening, my friend. So that's where we are with VRA. Hold this, close above it, move higher, close below it, start to, look like we're weakening down some wicks to the upside. I think we push lower down into this level down here. GRT. Here we go. Yeah, okay, GRT a little bit similar, I suppose. We kind of got this key level here, price reacting from this gap, back down below this high here. So this is a good example of an untapped high. What happened? Price came in, closed above it, meaning you look for the retest for longs. Beautiful long there. Intraday, that's absolutely fine. Great percentages in that. Closed back down below this level again now. So for me, I'm favouring a move down starting at 0.1957. Is there anything on the 4 hour that maybe has a difference of opinion here? Remember, we're going to look for those untapped highs and lows. No retest of this one. Again, very, very similar situation. We don't have quite as much data here, but this is the key level at the moment. We want to see price either when this closes, if this confirms as the swing low, price closes below this, we look for retests and flushes down to here. Price sweeps this and then gets back above this level. Yeah, so it does this. That sweep, price gets back above here, then I think we move higher. We start closing candles below this level, however, we look for retests and then we move it lower. SHIB. Okay, SHIB looks pretty clear here. These gaps could suppress price, but I doubt it. We kind of closed that one in now if that was going to have anything in there and move higher. Cheers, James. I'm going to try my absolute best. Yeah, inauguration. That's going to be a really key event. But maybe this is that kind of, maybe this is this enforced market move to get everybody bearish before such a big event like that happens, right? And then really kicks everything off. So, markets love to have us on the wrong side of them, believe me. So this is a key level for me here on the daily with SHIB, which is whatever that, however many zeros that is, plus 205,117. With the 4 hour, add some context because we got this low here as well, making these relative equal lows. And this is more telling, right? Look, this is what we want to see, because see this high, never retested, price closed above it. Oh, excuse me, closed above it here. When it came into, look how it closed below. Yeah, retest. Look at the wicks I was telling you about with these levels. This is what's driving price down here. Now you've got to ask yourself, what can stop price there? Thank you, brother. Appreciate that. Yeah, so liquidity for me now rests here and here. There's a very small chance that it's created this internal low. But I think, look, you did something like that and really kind of got some bullish action, then you'd long it into here and then watch how price reacts here. But I think it's much more likely that price comes down for these areas down here. All right, so that's what I'd be watching on SHIB. Recovery of this level could be good as well. See price establish itself here. I think we can push up. We've got some really, really clear levels there on SHIB actually, so that can be a nice asset to trade. Bonk. Let's have a look. Oh yeah, flare as well. I think I've missed flare. Hang on, let me go back to that one. One day. Okay. Currently holding this low. Not going to be bearish until we close below this low. Close below this low, then pretty sure we're heading down for that here. 0. I think that's 2486. All right. Also, just look at this. Look at these long downside wicks. Look at this long downside wick. Look at these long upside wicks or decent upside wicks, right? For me, I'm looking at that and I'm saying, do you know what? I think there's some kind of level here. Deviation, price back down below, just gives you an indication. So then when you move to say like the 4 hour, you can look and you can squish the chart up. Yeah. So you've got the data looking at you like this and look for these violent moves, these big reactions higher or lower. I think that's a good little pivot point there. I know it's not that relevant at the moment. You really obviously are like, oh, thanks, BC. Great for giving me that now. Could have done with that up here. But look, we've got the low. We can see price reacting quite well here at the moment. So for me, I think we either want to see it establish itself here, want to see some strong body candles start to build, and then we might be looking higher God, if we start closing a candle below here and looking for retests, then this really is the next level, in my opinion, that price is going to reverse, and that's quite a drop. So that's pretty clear there on Bonk, actually. Let me take a look at Flare. I missed that one. Is it FLR? Is it James? I think you were asking for Flare. Is that right? USDC. Not much data there on a 4 hour, but on a daily, if this is the one, I think this looks all right here, actually. This kind of area around here, probably. Aggressive selling, decent close above, support. Now it's back down in here. What we would want to see on a daily scale is this being the sweep of the low. Price just holding this area. Probably a decent spot. If you've really got some good fundamental information on this, not the worst spot to scale in there. You've got this consolidation below protecting price. If you do start to close candles in below that, then your next key levels are 0.02099, and then the swing low down here as well, I think at 0.01935. While it holds there, I think that's probably not the worst little spot. If you wanted a little bit of extra zhuzh, then you could look for something like this. That's a pretty decent resistance line there. So hold this area, get back above this, establish yourself here, and then price can pop. Or, just making sure you get these long downside wicks and you start to see recoveries at this level here on Flare. What were we on? Shibon. God, what have I written there? Is it drift? There we go, drift. 1 second, guys. Apologies, had to blow my schnoz. Well, whatever that was over there worked out well, didn't it? Well, leave that on there. We'll take a look in a minute, shall we? So on the daily scale, we can see really key resistance coming in here, right? All these upside wicks. So this is the gap at the moment that's kind of capping the market. It's a long way above that gap to push higher. So let's focus on what we can do in terms of liquidity targets. Could be holding this low here. I like this low more because it's a gap low, right? So ideally, we see a sweep of this 1.1686, price wicks down, gets back above this, and then I think we can move higher. If we have a long wick below this level and recover it as well, I wouldn't write off this thing holding, because this actually looks in decent shape here as it's consolidating. Now on the 4 hour, we also have another low to consider here, and it's another gap low, okay? What we like about this as well is we can see that this was the catalyst for a really strong move higher. So if those same buyers are present, then they should want to protect this area and kind of drive price higher. So I'd really have close eyes on 1.2218 as well. Again, we start getting strong closes below these levels, just target the levels that are below those. Ondo, for our friend, did really want to get around to this. I've got like 3 minutes until we start the trading session, which I think is going to be a little bit late today, guys. I'm not going to lie to you. So idea here was very similar, close below this level, a bit messy in here, right? But we did get the retest and then the sell-off. We didn't quite get it down to these key liquidity pools here. We were talking about this being our power of three, right? Consolidation, manipulation, expansion. And my God, did it expand. Now, move this back to the daily quickly so you can get some context here. Yeah, this was more looking at this consolidation block here. I'm not actually too keen on that there. And let me tell you for why. Never be afraid to change levels if you think. So that for me, I didn't really have a clean read on where the resistance would be. If I look back here, I've got no more data. So what I'm focused on is the consolidation, right? And especially the up move before price sells off, retest, and then sells off again. Then when price got back to this area, we closed above it, retest long, retest long. But now we can see price is just kind of not really respecting this area and grinding around. So if it's got no relevance now, I don't want it on my chart, right? If I'm looking here for key areas of support and resistance, this line is a pretty good one, but again, it's not amazing. I think we're probably going to get more on the 4 hour here. So let's take a look at that. 4 hour, we've now come into these key areas of liquidity. How are we treating them? All right. You'd want to see this recovered, closed above, and use this as a base to move higher. If not, then everything's kind of just looking a little bit messy in here, isn't it? Take that out for a second. We've disrespected this consolidation. Yeah, I mean, for me, this is the consolidation as well that led to this massive rip. So we either hold this area, which is aligned with being underneath this, or this is going to be a beast. I think. Something 1.14. Not saying we are going that low, but if we do, I bet there's some serious bids and serious buying pressure below there, because that was the catalyst for that entire move higher. So that's what I would look there on Ondo. What you want, mate, especially if you're looking close to a liquidation here, is you just don't know how much more this is going to push down. So just first of all, what I would say is just become at peace with it. Use it as a lesson and just make sure that you focus a lot more on risk management moving forward. I'm not being a prick about that, but we've all been there. It's a horrible feeling. I really feel for you, mate. I do. Make peace with it. Treat the trade as if it's lost. Don't just stop out for the sake of stopping out. Price could recover here, but just don't torture yourself about it, all right? If it does break down, you do get liquidated. This is then the next key level down for anybody that's interested, right? But just hold that. We could recover this level yet. And you need to remember we've got FOMC today as well. Hopefully there's a hawkish tone from Powell, dovish tone from Powell, not a hawkish one. And that might just light a little bit of a fire under the equity markets, which can help drag crypto up. One more, DSYNC, DSync. That sounds like a band. Let's have a look over here. What do we got? Okay, nice key low here that we're coming into. So we want to see that whole decent reaction so far. Yeah, Darius, unfortunately, if Bitcoin does go down, some things will kind of hold up against it a little bit. But, if Bitcoin does decide to flush really hard, then it is most of the time going to drag everything down with it, unfortunately, my friend. So key levels here are this immediate swing low. I like how we're reacting to that on a daily, on the 4 hour. I think if we're going to flush any lower, we come down and take out that swing there. So we'd want to see a flush of this, recovery of these levels, closing above here. I think we can move up. I think that's really nice and clean. And just to finish up, let's just take a look at Bitcoin here again. We are just sort of in a little bit of no man's land, aren't we? Like we said, in terms of looking for that quicker recovery, we've now made a pretty decent move to come and close back above this here. We've got 15 minutes until the pre-market opens for equities, for the NASDAQ, the S&P 500, etc. If we start seeing bids come in and catch those bids, then use that. Don't get super greedy. Use the opportunity to mitigate, control your risk, and move forward from there. All right. There is, my friend. Let me just share this with you very quickly. Again, anybody that's waiting for me in Trade Club at the moment, apologies, because we are going to be a few minutes late. But this is, as you all know, very, very important. So where is this? Here we go. So, Forex Factory, let's go over to our calendar. What do we got today? Wednesday, the 8th of January, right? FOMC meetings. That is going to be a huge catalyst, right? We've just had ADP non-farm employment change, which isn't great news in truth. They projected 139,000. It's coming at 122, which is a lot lower. Obviously, as it states here, this is with non-agriculture included. Unemployment claims come in here as well. They're projecting 214. So they're projecting more unemployment, which makes me feel like, unfortunately, that they're trying to boost up, and then we're going to be in for a little drop here as well. And we have the FOMC, which is at 7 o'clock tonight. It's a very treacherous day to trade today, guys. So what I would do is I would just consolidate. I would just watch your key levels, take a look at maybe anything that we've reviewed today, and see how it goes on, but be very, very careful trading in to any of these. All right, legends, you are all very, very welcome. Thank you so much for the feedback. Really do appreciate all of you coming in today. And look, I know some of you are hurting at the moment. And Turkman as well, you're very welcome. Stay motivated, stay sharp, write these things down, journal everything. If you've been hurt during this, just make sure you're focused and you are thinking, what did I do wrong? Maybe you didn't do anything wrong, but maybe there was an issue with the risk mitigation or something like that. Focus on that and look at everything you can take from this experience to make you better. Focus on the positives. Don't get caught on the negatives, right? Think of solutions, not problems, all right? And look, I'm available on Twitter. You can come and reach out to us over at the Bird Nest as well. You can find all the information to the group down in the description. Don't suffer in silence. Reach out if you need to vent, but do it constructively and just work out how you're going to improve for the next time round. There will still be a lot of opportunity in this market, whether it's to the upside or the downside. There's always ways to trade this both, all right? So stay positive, support one another, be good to one another, lick your wounds, think with a fresh set of eyes, and move forward. All right, legends, thank you so much for joining me this week. I suppose I can apologize on behalf of the markets for the flush. That is the way that they are. I'm sure you will all come back stronger from this, all right? So do the very best that you can and stay positive. Thank you so much for your time. Have a great week ahead, everyone. See you soon.